I'm Janet Sligar of Norcross First United Methodist. I was a jurisdictional delegate 4 years ago, and as such, I have closely followed the committee set up by the Connectional Table and the Council on Bishops called Call to Action. Some of you may be been a part of a webinar recently where they reported some of the issues that they've studied. It was a twofold study. Part of it was actual responses from local church members. A part was empirical data. Some of the items that they've talked about were one of the things you already discussed, changing the format of the role of retired bishops. They've talked about realigning our resources, our energy, and our funding to support vital congregations. Interestingly enough, they never said who will define a vital congregation. But the alarming thing from this wide-reaching study to me was that there's already a proposal to table the study at this general conference and study it 4 more years.
That doesn't make sense. I'm Charles Miller from Dalton First Methodist Church. I thought I'd share with you briefly the reason for the call to action is the concern with the bishops and a lot of people within our church that we're losing membership. We appear to be in decline in many areas, and the question is why? I mean, what can we change, or what's wrong with our church? You know, why are we not growing? So this initiated this call to action, and some of the things that they found out was that the membership that sits out there in the pews quite often don't trust our boards and agencies. There's a big disconnect between them and who supply the money for them, but you know, there's a big disconnect between them and the choice of priorities and how they work. And so that's part of what's going on here. Is it's a process that I mean, they paid a lot of money for this study. I think several $100,000, maybe. Was it 600 or 700 or so?
I believe it was.
I think it's something like that. And to table it would not make any sense. And a lot of it does have to do with our boards and agencies, and they're unmanageable, and there's reasons for that. They only meet a couple of times a year in a perfunctory role. They don't have any decision-making power with these people that are on the boards. And can you imagine trying to conduct a board meeting with 90 people or 60 people? I mean, they're not workable. We need to reduce the size of our boards. We need to make them actively managed policy-making boards and have them meet more than a couple of times a year. With video conferencing today, we can meet a lot more often than that. What happens today is the directors of these groups, the board members, come a couple of times a year, and the staff of the board kind of reports to them what they're doing. And that's not a way a board is supposed to work. The board is supposed to be doing some policy making and telling them how it ought to be managed or how it ought to work. So there's a lot of disconnects there that give us room to work for the future to try to improve that situation. What are your thoughts about some of those things?
I absolutely agree. One of the frustrations of being a lay speaker director recently has been that the material coming out of Nashville has not met our needs. And frequently we'll schedule a class and publicize what the topic is going to be, and then we find out that subject has been discontinued by that board. And we have to scramble to find a new subject that really meets the criteria of a Wesleyan theology and doctrine. And that shouldn't be the way we're operating. We should be transparent with our ideology, we should be transparent with how we're spending our money, and we should be transparent with who is helping make the decisions of general boards and secretaries. It's not a place for political lobbying to be happening, and yet we know that it is.
Those boards and agencies belong to us as a member of the Methodist Church. And it's very important that we make the representation fair. I mean, we need to have one man or one person, one vote within the Methodist Church. Those boards should represent us exactly according to membership. And today, it's not exactly that way. I'll give you, for instance, I heard that on one of our boards, there are only 2 Africans on the board, and they have probably 35% of our membership in the Methodist Church today. So there's a lot of work to be done there to make them representative of the membership.
And to call for accountability. The African church, the Philippine church, the Southeastern jurisdiction are very evangelical, and that should be one of our focuses. I think it should make us pause and become very active when we realize that political agendas are passing through our boards and agencies who are called to administer how we do mission and ministry.